We're back. We are back. You're listening to the Nostalgia and Comedy Show on Black Country Xtra. I'm Dave Dinsdale. Welcome to the wonderful world of Dinsey. With me, I have our roving reporter, historian and comedian, Paul Jennings.
Hello.
And our special guest, and we're going to find all about himself and his career later on, comedy magician, Rudge.
Hello.
But first of all, I've received an email from Mary Parks of Rowley Regis.
Good old Mary.
And if she does it again, I'm going to report her for stalking. I've had enough of this.
She's on the market this week, Dave.
Oh.
Yeah, boys' toilet rolls. Yeah. She says, can I remind you, said to you?
That's because she's got that new puppy. But she said, dear Why Don't You, why is it you don't play any Bernard Manning? Well, for anybody who's a bit woke, you'll probably know the reason why. But this is Black Country Community Extra, and so, for Mary Parks, here is Bernard Manning.
Lancashire lad goes to the vets, flat cap, white raincoat, galoshes, woodbine. He said, I've come about me cat. It's poorly. He says, is it a Tom? He says, no, I brought it with me, he said. Fella backs a horse called Yellow Yellow, wins £250,000. Has all his house painted yellow, yellow carpets, yellow furnishings, everything yellow. And he got yellow jaundice and he died and they can't find him. Fella walked in a boot and shoe repair. He said, I've come for my boots. He said, when do you leave them? He says, 1933, Wednesday afternoon, September the 15th. He said, you what? He says, September 1933, the 15th, Wednesday afternoon. He said, this shop's changed hands 15 times since then. He said, well, I'll have to have them. I'm starting work in the morning. He said, have you got the ticket? He said, aye. Gives him a nice clean ticket. He says, oh, it's ridiculous, this, he said. Goes down the cellar, comes back full of the black as the ace of spades. He said, I've got them. Ready Thursday. Magician working the big liners, doing all his tricks, and a parrot on the side there keeps saying, it's up his sleeve, it's down his jumper, it's up his trousers leg. Queers the act. And the ship's boiler's blue. And him and the parrot's on this plank for 4 days. And the parrot's looking at him like that. And after 4 days, the parrot said, OK, I give up. What have you done with the ship? Fellow walks in a hairdresser's, give us a Tony Curtis. Cut all his hair off just like an egg. He says, you Burke. You know who Tony Curtis is? He said, well, I should do. I saw the King and I 14 times.
It's all about you. Black Country Extra.
Bernard Manning, proper jokes for proper people, and he was clean. See, it can be done. You're listening to Nostalgia and Comedy on Black Country Extra. In the studio, we have, as our special guest, comedy magician, Rudge.
Hello, Dave. Hi. Hi, Paul.
Lovely to see you. So we're going to start at the very beginning, obviously. How did your comedy career in magic start?
Well, it all started with a broken heart. I got dumped and I was watching TV and there was faking it on and they turned a scientist into a magician and I had a lot of time on my hands. So I learnt 4 terrible card tricks and it all began from there. I ventured to the Bush, the historical birth of Black Country Comedy, and watched the acts there and just fell in love with the idea of getting up and doing something. So a few drinks later, I had a pack of cards and a shaky hand and got on stage and did 4 terrible card tricks and knocked a nail in my face. And most of it went wrong. And then I was booked again for the next week and I came back and tried a few bits and bobs with props around the house or stuff I could kind of beg, borrow and steal. And it just started from there. I was hooked.
So your first gig was at the Hollybush in Cradley Heath?
It was the Hollybush Cradley Heath, and I remember kind of having a couple of drinks for Dutch Courage and then getting on stage and all of a sudden I went Northern. Hey up, hello. It's good to be here. for some reason, and I thought I was killing it, but the video of me, I die at every opportunity. Things fall on the floor, things break. People look at me very confused.
But is that just because you're looking back retrospectively now?
No, I think it was a car crash. Crash on legs.
So how long was the act?
I think I did about 7 minutes.
That's quite a long time for a first time.
For not doing anything since like a kind of primary school Christmas nativity or something.
Yeah.
I just went with it, but something just clicked inside, and I thought, this is where I need to be. This is what I want to do. And where I'm from the Dudley neck of the woods. I found out there's a magic shop in Stourbridge, and I visited there on a weekend. I met a gentleman,
John Milner,
the famous John Milner, a wonderful magic act. He's still out there doing his wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And he kind of took me under his wing, and he showed me classic traditional magic, the good stuff.
Can you do linking rings as good as him?
No, I'm working on it still. 15 years on, I'm still trying to get as good as John with linking rings. But he showed me how magic should be done.
Yeah.
And then I started to play with it because I didn't want to be a carbon copy of that kind of magician in Tales with smart hair and top hats and doves. I wanted to kind of be a bit kind of grungy and perform in jeans and a suit jacket and what so.
Yeah.
So I started to adapt things, and I looked across the pond at Sideshow, travelling acts things.
So can you explain Sideshow for us?
Yeah, by all means, Sideshow was the add-on to a fun fair. Basically, you'd have a 10-in-1, so you might have a tattooed lady, you might have a snake with two
There's
heads.
quite a lot of those in Dudley at the moment. don't seem to draw a crowd.
And they'd have a magician, or they'd have a geek, or a kind of a blockhead, somebody who knocks a nail in their face, or the human ostrich that would eat glass or anything that the
Bernie
audience
Clifton.
would throw. No, not quite.
That was dubious, Bernie Clifton. It's a wrong angle. It just looked wrong. Yeah.
It was a great act though, because he was discovered on the Raw Variety performance. Again, we were talking about Britain's Got Talent before, just one of these strange acts. Well, no one had done anything like that on national television. And so he did his show, which I think went out on the Sunday night. By Monday morning, it was a national hero.
Which is great, but just if you had to write a description of the act.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you next. For anybody who's not familiar with Bernie Clifton, what was the act?
Right, well, I'll do it as a sort of CV thing, right? Just to write in for a spot, with Jack Parnell and all that. Dear Mr. Parnell, I'd like to be part of your act on the Palladium. My act consists of me mounting a stuffed ostrich and prancing around, making various noises towards the audience. Love, Bernie.
He had a great career. He ended up on Cracker Jack.
Yeah.
Still going. Had his own radio show as well on Radio 2.
Yeah.
But
He had it.
I'm not sure if the ostrich was there.
Hang on, I just got better. Oh,
But look, if you can have ventriloquists and magicians on the radio, you can have a bloke dressed as an ostrich, can't you?
Yeah, but is he going to describe it? I am now mounting the ostrich. And over
No,
to the weather.
that's more Radio 4, I think, isn't it?
That'll be true, yeah. And now on the World at One, Bernie will mount the ostrich.
Sorry, I'll carry
Sorry.
on. Paul and I we got carried away again.
Sorry.
So the sideshows were the add-on with oddities and varieties and what so, and I just kind of fell in love with the concept of doing stuff that I hadn't seen anyone else do.
Yep.
So I grabbed a few books from the 1920s and 30s and scoured libraries and junk shops, and my parents would find me in the garage with a nail halfway up my face. In my face.
Did they think it was just a phase you were going through?
No,
Did they think you were a goth?
No. They kind of had an idea that I was trying to work on different bits and pieces. I just remember my dad just kind of losing his temper massively with a nosebleed, just covered in blood coming in the house. And he's like, "What have you done?" And I was like, "I tried 2 nails." And he's like, "Stick to one, you idiot! Stick to one!" So it was a lot of trial and error and just kind of being brave. Kind of now I look back at those books and they're so poorly written or described that they shouldn't be in the market anymore. They're kind of giving you bad advice. So I learnt how to knock a nail in my face from a book, eat a light bulb, walk on broken glass. I got dad.
Stop. Can you just go back a minute? You ate a light bulb.
Yeah. So
It's a real light bulb.
It's a real light bulb. Some people think it's sugar glass, but I'm diabetic, so that's stupid.
But you eat the whole light bulb?
Yes, yeah. I tap it with a spoon in a bag, show it all works and what so, do a few cheap gags.
So you eat the filament?
Everything.
Well, that's the best bit. You'd be a fool not to.
And then
More iron in your diet.
Well, it's a light snack. It's cheap, but look at the suit. So I started toying around with that, and then where do you go after you've hit a light bulb? You have to drink Mr. Muscle to flush it down.
Obviously.
So lots of weird bits and pieces were starting to be put together. And then I went from the bush. A couple of people saw me and invited me to do their venues. And then I found out that burlesque was a big thing. It's kind of modern day variety, but it's mainly ladies and men performing dance routines to different styles of music and different movement. And I just saw there was a little window for a bit of variety, a bit of magic. So I kind of
Bit of stagecraft. Have you missed a little bit out of the burlesque story there? They don't just dance. The ladies don't just dance, do they?
No, they remove their clothing very slowly. It's a tough gig. So literally from the bush, a few months of working very hard and practicing and searching for things that kind of time had forgotten, people weren't doing. And then I found myself in the world of burlesque and comedy and charity gigs and caravan parks, and all the different bits and pieces. And whilst doing this, I had a day job, so I was kind of boring people at work with different bits and pieces that I was working on.
Are you able
to
say what you did?
When I originally started, I worked for Asda, and then I left Asda and I went to British Gas, and British Gas were kind enough to give me a lot of money to go away. Basically, they were shutting down the area that I worked in, so I took the money and I went to New York.
That's why the bills go up. It's people like you, isn't it?
So during that time of what was nearly like 3 years of kind of working a day job and the night shift, kind of honing the craft and seeing what worked, what didn't work, and driving up and down the motorway, I thought I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to see if I could do anything there, and I was lucky enough to perform in quite a few venues there, and Sideshow by the Seashore I visited there and saw what they were all about and seeked advice and different bits and pieces.
So how did you get on when you consider where you came from? Did you have to slow down the act? Did you have to amend it?
Yes, yeah. Playing the clubs in America, I was a bit more slow-paced, more English, kind of charming, and oh, darling, would you join me on stage? And
so how easy was it for you to actually be booked?
It was pretty easy, to be fair. I got onto the open mic circuit pretty easy. It was just sign up, come back at a time, go on stage, do your thing. And very much like I suppose the way the British circuit works, people see you, they like you, they advise you, oh, this show is happening, or would you like to join me here? How long are you in town for? And it just kind of evolved from there. My backup plan was to busk. If I couldn't do it kind of indoors, I'd have a go at doing it outdoors.
On the streets?
In Times Square, yeah.
Dynamo.
And yeah, just kind of set up a pitch and go for it. And I was carrying a lot of my kit around in suitcases, which was interesting, being stopped by I had 4 fake tongues, a rubber pencil, a straight jacket, and all these different things. And I'd end up kind of doing a little performance in different airports just to get through with my stuff.
Yeah.
What, to the security people?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
In the cell.
That's in the cell, yeah.
I was really, really worried that the security guys would take... it's a pink hammer. It's been with me since the very first gig at the Bush, and it's still with me.
Yeah.
And I was really worried that was going to go. And my only goal getting into these different states was just to keep hold of this hammer, because it's got about 8 terrible jokes with it. But I don't think I'll ever find a pink hammer out there like this that does what I need it to do. So then I was lucky enough in New York. Then I went to San Francisco, Pier 39. I kind of went there and then busted a little bit there. I visited magic shops, just tried to network as much as I can, and really play on the fact that I'm British. At the time, I had a 3-piece tweed suit, so I was a bit of a spectacle, standing there, kind of shouting to get an audience around me, banging the Lincoln rings, or kind of doing hat tricks or different bits and pieces. And then I came back from the States. And I had to get a proper job because the gigs weren't out there. Nobody really knew who I was. Time had changed a little bit just during that period of being away for a year. So I went back to some old promoters, got a bit more work, and some open mics, kind of just to get my face back out there, and then just built it from there. But you've described my act as a kind of a jumble sale on wheels. None of the stuff really looks like it belongs in a magic act, but it kind of cobbles together. And it is bits that I found in charity shops, jumble sales, wherever I've been, something that I can just turn into something funny.
So have you created any magic tricks yourself, and have you been successfully marketing them?
I've never marketed anything. I don't think there is anything new in magic. I'm not going to fib. I think it's just reworks on the classics, and it's different handlings. I've got some stuff in my act that I'm very proud of, that I believe it's a traditional kind of use of something, but it's my prop that I've built. For instance, there's a prop where I get somebody out of the audience and I pick a saw up and I cut their fingers off, and it's terrible. The plastic fingers shine like nobody's business, and they fall on the floor, and the person looks really unamused next to me, and I say, relax, if it was real you'd be bleeding. And as I say, that blood starts pouring out of this contraption, and you can see for that split second they think I've actually cut their fingers off, and it's wonderful, and it gets gasps, and it kind of, I do like the gross aspect of magic and the gore. As you say, I do nail in face, the glass eating kind of, I've seen people at my shows be sick with some of the things that I do.
I was going to ask you about that. What's your worst or best audience reaction?
There's two that really spring to mind. Yardbird, there was one where I was doing a Harry Anderson routine where I stick needles through my arms. And a lady stood up to walk out on me. She got to the middle of the room and then just collapsed. And so that was brilliant. But the one that's not even gross related, I was doing a trick with an egg in a bag. And the lady I got up was heavily pregnant, and she ended up weeing all over the stage. But she was warning me that something was going to happen. And it was a Halloween show. And just as she started, somebody threw a trick-or-treat bucket onto the stage, slid it right between the legs, and it caught the wee on stage. And it was just epic.
Did people think that was part of the act?
A bloke came up to me after and said, "Can I book you for my nan's party?"
Where is Debbie McGee now? That's what I want to know.
Can you do the wee bit with my nan? And
what?
Well, I could, but there's a bit of preparation work that we need.
I was blown away. So, those are the funny things. Lucky that the lady who fell over wasn't hurt, and the lady that weed gave birth 3 days later, so everyone was happy and safe and what so. But yeah, I've had quite funny reactions. Like most comedians, you get the hecklers and the kind of the more Friday night stag do. But it's as soon as the hammer comes out and the nail and it starts going in the face, and then I do the turn and you can see it's there. Usually people simmer down a little bit. They're kind of a little bit more respectful for the prop act, as it were, the magician. So, but yeah, there's been people being sick in the audience as well. That was a run of a few months.
That's quite an achievement, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you give a warning?
No. I suppose I should. They find it a bit strange sometimes when I put like a blue sheet down on stage just to capture like the blood and different bits and pieces in that sense. But no, the reactions from the audience are quite.
But you do have a child-friendly act as well.
Oh yeah. Everything I do can be kind of stripped back to what I've done. I've done family events. The gag I do weddings and funerals and children's parties, and I've done all of those off the back of this weird career choice of doing this. So I can play it clean. My act is pretty clean. I think you and a few other comedians in the early days just said try and play it as clean as you can, and you can play everywhere. And that advice is worth its weight in gold.
Perhaps I'll follow my own advice one of these days. might be able to get back and do it. So, have you ever played in front of 10,000 plus people at the NEC?
Yes, yeah, I am. I was lucky enough a fair few years back now to win a competition to open with Rock with Laughter.
You were lucky, weren't you?
Very lucky, and yeah, I got to work with the likes of Lenny Henry and Alan Carr and
Who else?
Slade,
Who else do you work with?
and Rolf Harris.
Really?
Yeah, Rolf.
How was Rolf with you?
He was fine actually. The other gentleman.
Could he see what it was yet?
I was lucky enough to open the event with a few other comedians in the who's
Brilliant
now
comedian.
a fantastic comedian and a wonderful children's author.
Yeah.
He kind of shared the bill with me, and it was just unreal to walk out to see so many people and to get that kind of response. And it's quite funny because some of my props are quite small, so to be projected on a huge screen, knocking the nail in my face or sticking a bird to my head or appearing a rubber dove or whatever, it was mind-blowing.
So how did you get to appear at the NEC in front of all these people?
So a radio station ran a competition looking for local comedians to...
Was it BR&B, was it?
I think it was BR&B. And I went along like yourself. And
Was I there?
You were there, yes.
Was I really?
Yes, yeah. At least you're not bitter. And there was there was a fair amount of people trying out, doing their bits and pieces, from musical acts to...
There must have been about 15.
Yeah, they're all kind of the Midlands comedy base, weren't they?
Yeah, did, and we all then received a text message, I think, saying we've been turned down, and maybe you, me, and Johnny Sorrow went to the Hollybush afterwards, and your text message came through, and you went, "Oh, I haven't got it either," because you felt sorry for us, didn't you? Then he said, "Actually, I won." And I said, well, if they had a runner-up, I would be there. And then he said, I've just found out they've picked a runner-up. It's Ben Davis. Good job. I like Ben Davis, isn't it? He's a bitter man.
He's bitter.
So you talked about the charity gigs. That do you enjoy charity gigs?
Yes and no. I suppose the nice thing to say, it's good to give something back. But then at the same time, the preparation and the rooms usually aren't right, aren't they? The people want to slip you in whilst people are eating.
Yeah. Don't you think? Because I always thought with the name charity in the title, people are going to be very happy and jolly and looking for a bit of amusement. But really, it's people who've come to support the event and maybe someone who is being sponsored and may have never seen live entertainment before and thinking it's actually like live at the Apollo.
Yeah, so sometimes you feel like you're in the way of the raffle or meat raffle, depending on what the charity is. And sometimes I enjoy that challenge, and then sometimes I feel like, oh, why have I driven to this gig and given my time?
Yeah.
But a gig's a gig.
Yeah, but sometimes it's a gig with money.
Oh, it's nice when there's money involved,
and that does ease the pain.
It does. You can kind of go home and cry on your money, instead of just a pillow.
Well, we did one, and it's for a young man. I think it was to send him to Disney World because he was terminally ill.
Yeah,
and he did actually die.
Yeah,
and I think I filmed it. And when you told me afterwards, I was deeply upset because his dad came up, but sometimes people don't like to make a speech. And I was comparing, I said, would you like to come up and say something? And he did, and he delivered this wonderful 5-minute speech. Whole place went silent, and I'm starting to well up. And then you found out what happened afterwards. Yeah. And we have the memory of the night. And it was a really good, it's one of, your gigs, you get between 200 and 250 people. In fact, talking about you used to have the V Club Wayward Ways.
Yeah, I ran Wayward Ways for a few years at the Mitre in Stourbridge, lovely venue, upstairs.
But that's quite small, isn't it? It only holds about 50.
Yeah, I think we were squishing in about 75. And if you've not visited the Mitre, you must. Upstairs, it's a bit of a sawdust kind of saloon feel.
It is. Explain the stage.
The stage is probably about as big as a downstairs toilet in a small house, with a side entrance door so you can come on in style. And yeah, I ran a gig there with Stephen Palmer, another magician.
Yep.
And we had everything on there. We had burlesque, we had comedy, we had character acts, poets, and what so. And it was really the kind of the grassroots of what became the V Club.
Yep.
And I believe you were on there, Johnny, the likes of legends like Al Grant.
Yep.
Everyone who was kind of wanting to come could come and do it, and it was a rowdy crowd.
Yeah.
A lot of people from
We were heckled.
British Gas.
We were heckled by the guy who owned the place.
Mike. Yeah, he should be on stage, not behind the bar. But yeah, every month something would happen there, or something would go slightly not quite right. But it was brilliant. It felt alive on stage there, and the audience were up for it.
Yeah.
They'd had a fair few beers, and then we moved to Moochers on the Ring Road, and that's when it went really big, where we had full-blown bands, UMC'd.
That was amazing. There was about 250 people there. Was it a Friday night?
Friday night, yeah, 250. UMC'd it. Sean Jakes, the ventriloquist, I believe his name was.
He stormed it.
He blew the roof off the place. Big Bren,
Big Bren,
local
Big
legend.
Bren's combo.
Big Bren was machine gun in the audience down that night. Wonderful. But yeah, that's where my love for kind of the obscure and the bizarre, like Wheel Tappers, that you would have a dance act on, followed by an old school comedian, then a lady playing a paper bag, and a dog playing a piano. And that's what V Club was about. It was about finding these bizarre, wonderful acts that for some reason were still out there, which is fantastic, and just bringing them into a venue with people that wanted to see that style of...
Interspersed with attractive ladies removing their braziers.
Burlesque was involved, poetry. We had that gentleman who played a saw. We had balloon pop acts.
We had Roger Swift.
Mr.
Entertainment in
we
Telford, by
had
the
Ian
way.
Crawford burst in to shut the place down for health and safety reasons. And a variety of other acts that kind of time has just... They're on the poster still, but yeah, I loved the concept of bringing variety back.
Yeah.
And as you say, the likes of the comedians and Wheel Tappers were long before my time. Daniels was probably my variety show.
Paul Daniels. So did you get to meet him?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to meet Paul a few times. He's 2-person shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was in awe of the man. I just think he was the best kind of club act magician. I think he's, dare I say it, I think he's better than Cooper.
Yeah.
But I think Paul Daniels will just be forgotten as time goes on, because I don't think he handled himself very well off stage.
So moving off piece then, we don't tend to have much magic on the television. It used to be a staple. From when I was growing up, we had people like David Nixon, a wonderful practitioner. And then the BBC fell out of love with Paul Daniels. They tried to recreate some kind of comedy magic with Wayne Dobson, and that fell by the wayside. So what was Paul Daniels' problem? Or was it just the fact he'd been there too long?
No, I think Paul openly said, I think they changed the powers that be at the BBC, and I think it just fell out of favour. They looked at it as old-fashioned.
Do you mean magic, or do you mean him?
I think both, to a certain degree. BBC every 10, 15 years try and revamp it. I think it was the early 2000s where they brought the Magicians back with Pete Furman, Ali Cook, might have been involved, Barry and Stewart, and some American guys. And the budget was ridiculous for it. It was huge, but they had Z-list celebrities working with these guys and girls. And it just, I don't know, it felt like, I suppose to magicians, it felt like an old slipper. It was something safe to watch. Yeah. But I think for people now, they want something more exciting. It didn't really feed their appetite of kind of reality TV or a competition. Nobody's life's going to be changed at the end of that episode, like on X Factor or Britain's Got Talent or The Voice or something. That person's going to go on and hopefully become something, where these were celebrities that were getting paid wet or dry if they were good or bad. Yeah. So I think that kind of hampered it. And I don't think anyone's got the vehicle quite right for magic. The likes of Dynamo on satellite TV. Sure. He's captured an audience because he's slick, he's young, he's cool. It's kind of a little bit more relatable than the glitz and glamour of a white floor and big lights and things like that. I think if I knew the answer why magic doesn't work.
Well, I was going to say, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you were given an awful lot of money, big budget and a bit of time, what would you do?
I think I'd probably try and recreate what Barry and Stewart did, where it's a little bit more
You'll need to explain who.
Barry and Stuart had a wonderful series, Magique, on Channel 4. It was a late night show,
Yeah.
and they really messed around with concepts of TV, a bit Kaufman-esque, Andy Kaufman, where the telly would flicker and you'd think something had gone slightly wrong, or the sound would come off and then come back on. But I don't think that would work for mainstream kind of TV. I think you'd be looking at kind of a 10 o'clock slot on Channel 4, like Simon Drake's.
That was good.
Simon Drake's.
They're still doing well in London, isn't
House
it?
of Magic. Yeah, he's just opened back up. Fantastic evening show. But I don't know. I think the audience out there now, they want TikTok magic. They want 30-second things, something that's fast visual they can pick up, put down.
Yeah.
And I don't think BBC or ITV can really cater for that. I think Magic's platform is on stage, be it a comedy club, be it a theatre, a fringe, or I think it's on your telephone in short bites that you can kind of, wow, how did you do that? Kind of move on with your life. I don't think TV is the way for Magic.
Well, they have tried to sort of push the envelope a little bit, like say Dynamo and all. I'm thinking Penn and Teller.
Penn and Teller, yeah.
You know, from years ago. Do you think something like that would have a place?
I think so, but I don't think that's something that you could roll out for a 6 weeks block. I think Penn and Teller had Fool Us on ITV for a while, didn't they? Where they invited magicians from around the world. And that had its run, and now it's found its home in America again.
And on YouTube.
And they did The World's Greatest Magicians on ITV again, where they had local, British magicians competing to see who was the best. But I don't think anything's got legs. I think a special, as you say, Penn and Teller had some wonderful specials in the 90s on Channel 4. They work fantastic. Dynamo has opted for his series. Dynamo is probably the king of magic on TV, but he's on quite obscure cable channels or channels that kind of he's at one time slot, then he moves and what so I don't know, maybe people just want street magic, but how much street magic can you watch before you start going it's camera tricks or a stooge or
well, when you look at the talent shows they used to have, so the acts, the magicians would be given 3 minutes, and the guy, you know, the handkerchief with the ball that's on the end of a stick, so it looks like he's got this ball going up and down the handkerchief, that would be the 3 minutes. And he'd just be there for 3 minutes with his ball thing. Well, as you say now, that would last about 20 seconds.
Yeah. I think that feeds back into my act. None of my routines run longer than, say, 4 minutes, because I think there's a joke in one routine, I'm counting cards, and halfway through it I say, I'm bored of this. And it's just a nod to the audience that I know what you're feeling at this point, but just hold on, we'll get there in the end.
But your act is very quick, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel it has to be quick, because I think people would just get bored if I slowed it down, and it's not that hand, this hand, and in that pocket. I just want to get from A to C as quick as I can and get as many laughs in there as I can, and hopefully at the end still have that wow factor. I don't want to milk anything till there's no life left in it. I just think it's pointless for everyone.
That's a good point. You're listening to Nostagia Comedy on Black Country Xtra. I'm Dave Dinsdale. With me I have Paul Jennings and comedy magician Al Rudge. He's been talking so well, and we're going to talk to him a little bit later on. So, until then, let's have some nostalgia and the old adverts.
Everyone's a winner at Queensway's Big Q sale. All furniture down in price. All bedding down in price. All carpets down in price. All stock down in price at Queensway's Big Q sale. The air-sprung 4-drawer divan, £99.50, unbeatable value. The Madrid suite, down to £275, half the maker's list price. Queensway have cut this full-length sliding door wardrobe to £149.95. Looking for carpets? There's a massive range from £1.99 to £9.95. Axminsters, Wiltons, Patterns and Plains. Remember, every single item down in price at Queensway's Big Q sale.
Everyone's a winner, baby.
Have you seen the new Burton suits? Burton's got business suits, wedding suits, paternity suits, morning suits, Burton law suits, Burton wet suits, snow suits, and track suits, Burton flying suits, birthday suits, fishing suits, and Burton soccer suits. Come into Burton and button into one of the new Burton suits.
Burton on the button. Burton on the button.
lovely, lovely. That's how I like to see a national station. Clean as a new Smurf. Now, car drill. Smurf yourselves, Smurf yourselves.
Temperature high, cool her down. Spirits low, fill her up. Tires flat out. Give 'em air.
Excellent, excellent. I think you can hang those up now, lovely Smurfs.
Peter Lord's Big Shoe Sale starts Wednesday. Big savings on Clark shoes, K shoes, big bargains for women, for men, for children. The Big Shoe Sale at Peter Lord starts Wednesday.
Presenting not one, but two of Wilkinson Sword's finest blades. Now in the Wilkinson 2. Two Wilkinson Sword blades, adjustable to suit yourself. In a shaving head that fits all leading twin blade razors. For the latest in twin blade shaving, Wilkinson Sword give you the Wilkinson 2.
We asked housewives what they take for headaches.
When I get a headache, I always take headaches.
I agree with you, they're very good.
Headaches is specially made for headaches.
They don't upset your tummy. You know what a tummy I've got, don't you?
They never upset my stomach.
Headaches is gentle on your stomach.
And they're such a good shape to take.
I agree with Eileen, it's the shape. They're very easy to swallow, easy to get down.
Headaches, powerful against headaches, gentle on your stomach. Headaches from Sterling Health.
Winter is a-coming and the weather's extra cold. The kids are extra hungry and the milkman's extra bold. There's extra meat down at the butcher's to feed 'em nice and hot. It's a thing called extra specials, and it needn't cost a lot. Next time you see the butcher, he will show you in a minute. Saying extra specials, here, me dear, I've stuck a ticket in it.
Meet extra specials at your butcher's now.
When a great day's nearly over, and it's time to climb aboard, there's a happy ending waiting, and a place you can afford.
All the family will enjoy McDonald's deliciously different hamburgers, fries and shakes. And when you get all this for £3.62, you'll enjoy the difference in our prices.
There's a difference at McDonald's you'll enjoy.
All that for £3.62. You're listening to Nostalgia Comedy on Black Country Xtra. I'm Dave Dinsdale. With me in the studio we have comedian and historian and also roving reporter Paul Jennings and the wonderful comedy magician Al Rudge. Now, we've talked about your life. We've talked about you going to America. You also went and performed with the circus. How did that go?
Yeah, I had a small run with the circus, learning the skills and different bits and pieces, and the middle of the ring. And it was hard work. It was proper graft, kind of riling them up and what. So I was kind of like the odd clown, where the clowns had their big stage pieces and then they rolled my boxer tat on, and I performed and did bits and pieces. I'm really, really glad that I did it, and it was a real learning curve how to project and how to really present something. And at that point, it was milk. It kind of go around the ring, show everyone the hammer, show everyone the nail, even the people at the back, let everyone kind of see it, feel it, touch it, do whatever. That was to make small things as big as you can, kind of as possible. And it was nice. It was a family environment, so I could get kids up and do routines with them with like balloon dogs and different bits and pieces.
So how did you get to work in the circus?
I just talking to people. It was one of those things where it was something I always wanted to do. Once again, circus, variety, sideshows, fun fairs, kind of the 10-in-1s. It's just one of those things where kind of in my late teens, I just got very, very interested in circus and clowns. And as I mentioned before, Vic Odin's life was working as a circus magician. He would do the upside-down straitjacket escape on fire. He'd do the bullet catch in the middle of the ring. He'd tame an alligator. So he had all these wonderful ideas, which in 1967 you could do, but in kind of...
real alligator?
A real alligator.
A real alligator?
Yes, a real alligator. Trick is to feed them and keep them warm. It's
that's always been my philosophy.
Yeah. So I was chatting to Vic about this idea that I'd like to do it, and he was telling me his time, and he was telling me all the horror stories of when things went wrong for him, like when the rope snapped because it was coated in fuel because he'd had a falling out with one of the circus hands. The time that he went out and all of a sudden there was two kind of alligator crocodiles in the ring with him instead of one. Time a bear scraped his arm as he was walking on as they were playing his music to go on and do his box jumping routine with his wife. And I fell in love with this kind of oldie world. I kind of thought, I want to have a go at doing this. And in reality, it was a lot of hard work. And it was only, as I say, for a few weeks. And thank God it was just in one location, because I think if I had to pack the tent up, travel around with them and do the real graft like that some of the guys in the States are doing, and even the European circuses now in the UK, I'm not cut out for that.
So how long did you do it for?
I was there, I think it was about 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And so it's not a long run, and I just I'd help out where I can. You'd sell tickets, you'd do popcorn, the light up bits and pieces, and then you do your spot in the middle. And it was all set up through Vic Odin and some of his connections. And it was just to say I did it, really. And I was really pleased that they allowed me to do it. Yeah. I wouldn't be in a rush to get back. As you say, my crowd is a kind of a small art house, art centre, kind of that kind of vibe. I want people up close and personal to me. I want them to... If I'm cheating them, I want to be cheating them up close and right in their face.
Well, it is better. We did do a gig in Wolverhampton, I recall, and it may have been the first night. And the audience, because it's just in a pub room, the audience are about 3 feet away from you. And there was one guy at the front trying to work out how you were doing the tricks. And I think when you bang the nail in your face, I think you actually gave him the nail. I said, just check, see if it's retractable at all. And when he realised it really was a nail that you banged in your face, it did start to squirm a little bit.
Yeah, I hate the venues with the dance floor of death.
Yeah.
That just dead zone that jokes kind of try and crawl across to get to an audience, and it just doesn't work. It's kind of it's that food and raffles when I turn up at a venue. If any of that's mentioned, you think, oh, this is going to be a tough ride.
Well, if it's magic, then you need concentration.
Yeah. I've brought my stuff down to them. That's a big thing that I've happily done. Got people at the audience to move my stuff onto the floor. Obviously, it messes with lighting and whatsoever. But I think at least if I can do that or stand on a chair in the middle of a dance floor and present it big, I think you just have to work to the room. But yeah, that guy. There's quite a few head turners that kind of stare at me as if they're trying to work things out. And they're brilliant. Because there's bits in my act where you can really sucker people into saying something that's completely wrong, and then not make them look stupid, but you can get a bigger gasp or a bigger response. But yeah, I love that kind of wow of magic. But I also love the laughter and the journey we go on to get that wow. And sometimes the laughter's bigger than the wow at the end with silly things like rubber pencil or I'm trying to think of other silly things. Beside myself, the felt face that I've got and the linking rings bit. Some of it's just a little vehicle to just keep the act moving pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, I saw you at my friend Neil and Donna Bond's wedding, and it went really well. And I've had other people ask me if I will perform comedy at their wedding reception.
Oh, crack.
And I go, no, I won't. And I did it to someone who'd been following me for quite a while, and he was really quite gutted that I wasn't going to do it. But he did it in such a way that it looked like I was letting him down, rather than I'll say, no, I would ruin your wedding. Yeah. If I do it, you might find it funny, a couple of your mates might find it funny, but I've got a fair idea that the bride's family aren't going to find it so amusing, and then that's going to be your talking point afterwards, and I don't think that comedy and weddings go.
No, absolutely not.
So have you tried any, Paul?
Magic or weddings?
Weddings.
I've did, much to my self-disgust, I've done 2.
So you did one and went back?
That's the disgust. I mean,
money is a great level.
I mean, all of a bloke that continuously shoves nails in his face with a hammer. You know, once I did that for me, but No, I think that's doing a wedding's worse than continually hammering a nail in your face, to be honest.
Yeah.
I did the first one I did. It was for a work colleague, and it was a lovely venue, proper stage, proper professional. But I made the mistake of, well, I used to be quite bantery with the audience years ago. When
Still are.
Well, yeah, but it was fashionable to be slightly rude to people. I don't do that anymore, but I made the mistake of being slightly rude to the bride. And she wasn't happy. And that was...
Could have been worse. Could have been the bride's mother.
That was disastrous. You know you're bad when the band is looking at you. They were sitting on the stairs at the back of the stage.
It's when they feel sorry for you. You can actually see pity in their eyes.
The band, I could feel the pity coming from them. And the second one was at a golf club. I hate golf clubs at the best of times. And I went on, and then there were kids doing the Peter Kay sliding across the floor on their knees in front of me.
Yeah.
And there was about 7 people watching me, and the rest were up at the bar all filling their face with buffet. And I thought, why didn't I learn the first time?
Yeah. So are you performing much at the moment, Al?
Not as much as I'd like, to be honest.
Good Lord.
Off the back of COVID, obviously, I got offered a few Zoom bits and pieces for different burlesque shows.
So does magic work via Zoom?
Yeah.
Does it?
I suppose to a certain degree. I think if you're doing an act to music,
Yeah.
if you're doing something a bit flourishy or kind of illusions where it's simple to visually watch and follow, I think that's fine. But as a talky act, as a kind of fast-paced and I want interaction with the audience,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have to wait for somebody to type something in a box to respond, and I think it just throw my timing off too much. And plus, I don't want to clear a room out in my house, so I've got a clean area to perform. So I've come back. Since I've been back, I've done about 4 or 5, I would say 5 shows, and that's been a mixture of open mics and burlesque, and I was lucky enough to do a corporate as well. But in the period of time that we've been back, that's not a lot in the world of performing for me at all. I've reached out to all promoters, and they're either fully booked now until next year, where they've kind of, without being rude, they've got their friends in straight away, or a flavour of the month. And then I've gone further afield with agencies and different bits and pieces, but obviously the work's not flown into them. They're kind of struggling for the Christmas bookings. That was a big time for me, going out and doing the corporate Christmas shows and different bits and pieces. So I'm looking at different angles of trying to generate work for myself. There's 2 other magicians, Jamie Curtis and Damon Conlon. We got together and we've decided that we're going to try and put a bit of a touring show together. 3 magicians, we're all different styles, so there's something for everyone. We're going to do a family-friendly show, and we're going to do a more adult show. Okay. So hopefully we can hit the venue twice to get a little bit more of a fan base coming in, as it were, and to
do a matinee another evening.
There we go. And we're signing programs in between. So yeah, that's something that we're kind of working on. But as I say, I'm kind of just reaching out to old promoters and old friends. But it seems the landscape's changed. It seems very difficult again. I know comedy changes and evolves, and 1 minute somebody's running 20 things and the next minute they're not. And I don't think COVID's helped with kind of these nights get rooted and get a fan base.
Yeah, well, they can only book a few weeks ahead. So would you say that lockdown has sharpened you up?
I must admit, the first gig I came back to, in the period of time I was performing, 2 tricks went completely wrong. It was the first night back at the Bush, kind of doing the things, and just because I'm a bit more seasoned, I laughed them off and worked my way out of them. But those 2 tricks certainly weren't slick at all. People looked at me with 3 ropes in my hands, and I was like, what do I do with these? And kind of just panicked, threw them behind me, and luckily enough, they stuck to a brick wall, so it looked as if that was part of the trick.
Oh, that's how it's done.
That's how it's done. There you go, static. But that first show, that was... the audience were facing the right way. It was intimate. They'd been fed. But they had that glaze of, I'm watching television. I think the punters out there, the audience, the comedy fans, I think they've just become armchair watchers again. I think we need to kind of shake them up a bit, get them wriggling. They can, as Johnny says, you can touch me, missus. It needs... You can bring the energy, but they need to bring something back to you to get it working. So maybe in a couple of months, maybe it was just a bad night where I was performing, but it was like, let's hold hands and contact the living. It's kind of, come on guys, I can see you, I want to hear you. We just need to, find the groove again. It just seemed a little bit off. But then fast forward to the burlesque shows I was doing, it was a intimate, great venue, well lit, lovely chairs, people were close together, all creeds, all colours, all ages, and they were up for it. It's to me, it was like a bank job. It was get in and get out. It was just perfect. It was brilliant. Everything you seemed to say or touch was gold. My volunteer I got out to assist me was wonderful. She was funnier than me. It just kind of, the comedy gods were blown in the right direction that way. And even the corporate, which sometimes you kind of, you take the money and you just take the pain at the same time. That was nice people. I think that group of people were excited to be out. They'd had enough of being in their houses and talking on screens. They wanted to see something. So I suppose it depends on what level the venue's at, who's booking it, who's running it, who's doing what the rules are. It's a bit for MCs, like they have the wonderful don't talk when the acts are on, turn your phones off, all that. I think it's one of those as well, like give a bit back, give a bit of energy. The more energy you give the performers on stage, the more we can throw back at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the Hollybush in Cradley Heath, the home of open mic comedy in the Midlands, as Wolfie, the owner, likes to say. But he did put on Bushfest this year, Bushfest 2021. And on the Saturday, the people from the Hollywood Comedy Club, which is run by Matt Taylor and Sean Taylor, based over at Hollywood Withall Way, they had a number of acts on in the afternoon. And because these performers haven't been on stage for a year, they probably had nothing better to do than learn the act. And they were so sharp. And I've managed to film all the acts. Some of them I've put up on YouTube. And the quality was so good. I think we were talking off air about Tal Davis, who's a young lady who's did an absolutely fantastic 10, 15 minutes. Had the audience in the palm of her hand. And it was great to see live entertainment again. And the audience were up for it because they've been starved at real live entertainment. And this is in a pub garden. So we're not talking about a big theatre with the orchestra and curtains. It's real and it's in your face. And Paul, you were the compere on the Friday
night, yeah.
So that would have been one of yours, if not the first comeback for you since lockdown. How busy are you now?
Well, like Al, you're trying to find work. I've got a gig tonight. No, a couple of weeks' time, I've got this gig, and that's over at Hollywood, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm doing that tonight with the lovely Barbara Nice.
Yes, great act, and it's a lovely venue. It is pretty much a cabaret venue, so it's a sort of sports and social clubs room, but they close the bar when the acts are on, and there's a proper little stage, and the lighting's very good, and it's a very old-fashioned, intimate atmosphere, something like the Night Out, if you remember that, in Birmingham Horse Fair.
I do remember the Night Out, yeah.
Which was obviously, that was a quality cabaret venue.
And I'm looking forward to it. I feel a bit sharper than I did when I first came back out of COVID.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my goodness me. Well, I was telling you, I saw Pam Ayres.
Yes. And she's a professional, and she admitted that she was rusty.
She admitted it, and it was the first gig back. It was a cancelled gig. I went on my own, as I've said before, and she was admitting that she was rusty, and she got it all written down on bits of paper, and she kept going back to the table where it was, and she said, "Sorry, I fluffed it again." I said, "What happens next?" And this woman's been doing it for 50 years, 40 odd years, and it is, and you could see that she was not struggling, but this was like uncharted territory for her.
Yeah.
But the audience was so warm because they'd gone to see her.
Yes.
And we all know how when you've got a name and they go to see a name. But even so, she put her heart and soul into it, and she was brilliant.
So, other than the touring show, that sounds really interesting, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, what else have you got in the bag? Egg bag.
Just a few burlesque bits and pieces, that's it, really. You could probably count my gigs for the rest of the year on one hand at the moment.
Yeah.
So, if anyone's looking for a comedy magician for anything, drop me a line.
Birthdays,
weddings, funerals, anything, you name it, I'll do
funerals, that'd be good.
Funerals, yeah.
Just hit the button and watch it disappear.
There we go.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So yeah, but it does seem every time I click on Facebook, there's a new show being put together. Somebody's trying something somewhere.
They are,
which
not always in the best interest of the audience and the performers.
Yeah, I think. It's a strange one if you're new to promoting. I know everyone needs to start somewhere, but I really think people need to think about their acts, the audience, and the punters that they're going to get in and how they're going to advertise. I don't know. I sound like I'm whinging or bitching about people at the moment, but I don't think enough goes into the artwork of posters. They're very kind of bland and just kind of look like they've been created on Microsoft.
Well, they're better than they are, but the idea of a poster is to be eye-catching, and the meme shouldn't be the bit that's eye-catching. It should be the show, because that's what you're advertising.
Yeah.
And that applies to advertising on the television. I look at adverts that I've seen 10, 15 times, and I go, what are they actually advertising there? And it's not explicit in what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
I think when we used to do comedy, I think we came up with an idea for a comedy night in Birmingham, and we called it the Birmingham Comedy Night, because it was in Birmingham, it was a comedy show, and it was at night, so people know what they're going to get, and they come up with these. There's a lot of these LOL nights.
Yeah.
They go, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Just tell people what it is.
Yeah, I think you can play around with titles and things like that, but it does need to be simple. You need to know, like for the V Club, it used to be the old school music hall. Yeah. Everyone had their picture.
Well,
on there.
Ryan Goff uses them.
Ryan Goff's got a beautiful design.
Great effect.
Yeah, fantastic design. That's straight out the music hall. It's gorgeous, his design. But yeah, I wanted everyone's face on there, so everyone's equal, everyone's balanced. You can see what you come in to see. If they're a specialist act, put what the specialist bit of business is on there. It's like sometimes you're struggling to even see a location or a time for the show.
Al Rudge, what a pleasure having you in the studio. And my good friend Paul Jennings. I've been Dave Dinsdale. You've been listening to Nostalgia and Comedy on Black Country Xtra.
Black Country Xtra.